last week twice, Nurse Alice, of having the millennial pause. So you know what I'm not going to do in this show? I am not going to give y'all the millennial pause. I am not going to jump in. First of all, I'm not even a millennial. I'm a very proud Gen Xer. Second of all, I'm going to come in hot on this show. The second we go live, just start talking. I'm going to just start talking. So welcome to the Dr. James and Nurse Alice show. I'm a very proud nurse practitioner, Dr. James Simmons, and this is my lovely and talented and amazing tread bearing. No, I was going to say you are blazing a trailblazing colleague and co-host, Nurse Alice.
Hi guys, I'm Nurse Alice. I'm a clinical nurse specialist and family nurse practitioner, but y'all know me as Nurse Alice. I like to talk to people before they become my patients in a fun way, in an auntie's cousin, let me get you straight way.
Right. In the auntie cousin, let me get you straight away. And listen, how funny is this? I'm not even gonna first of all, I love that you were like, I got a tagline. Here's my tagline. I like to talk to y'all before you become my patients. That is beautiful. We have so many folks jumping in right now. We have a bunch of folks on Instagram I see coming in, a bunch of folks on LinkedIn. We are live right now every Monday at 5, except today it was like 10 after 5, you know, eclipse. Yeah. The eclipse is gonna eclipse. Mercury's gonna retrograde.
Yeah. I was in the sky. I was in the sky during all that. So I was in flight.
What?
Because wait a minute. Okay, so don't judge me, but I really thought the eclipse was yesterday. I really thought it was I just wasn't paying attention. And then someone said, "Oh, you shouldn't be in the sky right now." I'm like, "Why?" The eclipse. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, the alien! Our flight's gonna go off the radar." I'm not playing because we had so much turbulence. I really thought I was like, "Ooh."
Did you really?
I did for a second. I did.
I mean, I don't know if y'all saw, you know, we talk a lot. It's hard being in these streets. It's hard being a public persona, especially when you do something like do a live to tape television show every day like they do on The View. Did you see what Sunny Hostin was saying earlier today? Mm-hmm. And I love my girl, Sunny Hostin. I really do. But like, also she was like, well, I don't know, the solar eclipse and like earthquakes happening in New York and all of these other things. She's like, I don't know, maybe climate change is real. And Joy and Whoopi had to get her together. And they were like, okay, boo-boo. Eclipses and earthquakes have likely nothing to do. Eclipses for sure. Earthquakes probably have nothing to do with climate change. Like, that's a little bit of a reach right there. Like normally we ride with you, Sunny, but Sunny, girl, you got to go back to science class. You need to watch you some National Geographic because that's not how that works.
Yeah, she's an attorney, right? Isn't that her background?
Legal? Yeah. She's an attorney. But I'm glad you made it safe. You were in the air. And Nurse Alice, while we're here on our slightly truncated Monday show, tell the people, what do you do? Tell the people why you were in the air. What you up to?
I was on my way here to New Orleans for the AONL conference, the American Association of Nurse Leaders. So, you know, I'm a leader. So I was actually here. I'm here wearing multiple hats. One of them is to gain knowledge myself because I'm always forever learning. Teachers are still students. And then also to network with some great, amazing leaders from across the nation. And then also, I'll be presenting and speaking. Okay, this sounds silly. I'm hosting a dinner on behalf of nurse.com. So that'll be fun and interesting.
Come on now.
Yeah. Let me just say this. If I can just have a transparent moment, y'all don't judge me. When I was thinking like hosting parties or hosting dinners, I think of like the ladies on the flyers for the clubs and stuff like that. And sometimes I'm just like, it just sounds weird. If I can just be honest.
You were like, you know, like you're like one of the Kardashians or something, or like you're like Ice Spice, right? Doesn't Ice Spice, she commands like $500,000 to like host a pool party or whatever. So I think that's very funny. So you're like the nursing healthcare version of Ice Spice or Khloe Kardashian. You're out here hosting parties and stuff. No, that's good, Alice. You are a nurse celebrity. You're like a nurse celebrity in our world, and especially working with nurse.com. So tell us, you know, I'm asking you all these questions. I'm got my Oprah hat on today. So tell us more about like, what is the dinner for? Like, what is nurse.com up to at AONL? Like, give us the tea.
Okay, well, nurse.com is here, obviously, as one of the largest online nursing platforms, media platforms. They want to be here in the know and supporting and networking with nurse leaders. So we're going to be talking about advocacy, leadership, and using media as a way to amplify your message and your voice in important initiatives. And so we're having a cutesy, kind of dinner party type of thing. I'm going to be there. I do a short presentation, and we're going to mix and mingle and talk about what's going on. What does ABC hospital got going on, and this hospital or this school, and leaders from all over, and challenge them to, amplify their voice as nurse leaders, and talk about it. Yeah.
Look at you amplifying your voice as nurse leaders. And I think one of the things that I think so very interesting, we're doing a little bit of extra nursey talk today, by the way.
Talk, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing a little nursey talk. By the way, we've got a bunch of folks on my Instagram, on your Instagram. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube Live, all at the same time, X. Ray Love Jr. Oh, hi, Ray. Ray Love Jr. wrote a little comment on X talking about how it was a bit of a reach for Sunny Hostin to be like, the eclipse was related to climate change or whatever. That's all right, Sunny. We love you, Bill. We love you.
But people believe that, though. Really, I think when you don't know, that's when we make up these connections of events and things in our head, and we make up our own explanation or understanding of it. So, I can see how someone could think that.
Yeah, for sure. But sorry for the little asides, because that is the biggest news, like at least in North America, most of North America today. Yeah, is this eclipse and Mercury retrograding and it happening in Aries and conjunct Chiron and all this other stuff. So you made it to New Orleans safely. Thank God. You were hosting this dinner, challenging people to be leaders at Association of Nurse Leaders, American Association of Nurse Leaders, AONL, which is in my favorite city, New Orleans, right now. But I think what's so interesting about this for us nursey folks watching right now is that we often think of nurse leaders as people having to have a title or a particular position in a specific institution. I'm the director of nursing. I'm the, director of quality as an RN. I'm whatever, right? Alice, from your position as a leader, who has both had positions like that and not, but a leader in our profession, and on behalf of nurse.com, can you talk to the folks a little bit about how, like, everyone in the profession, regardless of where you are, what your title is, or what type of nursing you're practicing, is a leader, how this challenge for leadership applies to like everyone across the board?
Well, I believe that every nurse is a leader, and whether you're leading just your group of patients or the operations on your unit, whether it's a whole division, whether it's a hospital, whether you're in a clinic, whether you're in a different area, government or something else, we all have a unique knowledge, training, and skill set, and compassion for caring for people and making things better, wanting things to be better. So every nurse is a leader, and I think that's one of the things that's important. I think AONL used to have a different name, just some history. It used to be AONE. Association, what is it?
Association of Nurse Executives.
Yes, nurse executives. And so they realized that they were kind of siloing themselves and had to realize and understand that there are people who are leaders that aren't of the official title, as in a position like chief nursing officer, like director of quality. And I'll say this, as someone, I was a little bit of a rebel. I've always been a little bit of a rebel. I've kind of been that unofficial union rep that really isn't a union rep on the unit. I've been the person that people go to and they're like, well, Alice, how do I do this? Because I was voice. I had a voice. I used it. I wasn't afraid to ask questions and challenge the system for the better.
Right. Good.
And so I actually think informal nurse leaders are actually more powerful than nurse leaders, because I don't have a budget. I don't have any disciplinary type of, I can't beat you with a stick or anything like that. But my influence, my ability to inform, educate, empower, and influence, that's a real leader, an informal leader.
Whoa, I love that. Like leading by influence, which can be really, really difficult. It's something that I know people in my life have sort of had to like get things done by influence rather than being like, I'm your boss, you're my subordinate, you have to go do this thing that I told you what to do. And it's really hard in our institutions and in our practice and in the sort of healthcare system to continue to have to lead by influence. But I think it's so important that we do that as nurses, because I think that's where we really execute this. We always say trusted, most trusted profession in 22 years running. That's not exactly the language. We're actually considered the most ethical profession by the American public, 22 years running. But I think that's why our influence can be so important, because the American public and our colleagues find us as a profession as a whole far and away the most ethical profession. So when we try to influence policy, from all the way from influencing federal policy down to our education conversations with the patient right before discharge, or even our dinner table conversations with our friends or family, that is influence. And I think I'm just going to segue this into a little bit about, like, I think that's why we have such incredible untapped power and untapped potential in nurses in media, Alice, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me just add on to this. When we talk about influence, okay, well, let's back it up. If your boss tells you to do something and maybe you're not really interested, you're like, you're going to drag your feet. You're not going to be really as interested. You're just going to, people might just do the minimum just to get by, or like, okay, well, I was here, bye. I'm just going to do my job and that's it. But when you can influence someone, usually that means that you've inspired them some way. You've energized them. You've jazzed them up. You've gotten them excited and rich in experience and knowledge and wanting to do something. And so that synergy that adds to it makes the outcome so much better. I mean, they're going to put their little heart and soul into it. And I think that's what's so amazing about nursing, when you can, I'd say, lead from the back. Lead from the back, or be an informal leader. That, I have to say, is so exciting, because it's like you're finding your tribe, your people, like you're there for a common mission and you're all passionate about it. So when we talk about influence, having that type of synergy and energy, and then when you have a health message or health information or some type of research or whatever policy, whatever it is you want to amplify your message, when you're compassionate, authentic, when you have the ability to influence, that message can go really, really far. It really can.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And I think so much of how we are educated and schooled in nursing we feel like we are always beholden to the system, or we are beholden to the orders from a physician or a nurse practitioner or a PA, that we have to wait for someone to tell us to do something.
The chain of command is real. It's like we're herded into kind of this system, this mindset. And I get so excited when I can see the shackles come off of people's minds and they realize how innovative they are, how you can there's more than one way to do something. And I think in nursing, we've always been learned, do it this way, this way, this way. There's CN1, CN2, like there's just always this kind of pathway that you have to travel. And I've always colored outside the lines. Baby, I've always colored outside the lines. There's many ways to do it. And I think that's also why I thrive in the media area, James, because it's an innovative and creative way to talk about important things and influence people. But that's what we're supposed to do, right? We're supposed to work ourselves out of a job. So like with yourself, when you go on KTLA and you're talking about health information, you're still being a nurse practitioner, but you're doing it in a very innovative way. And I think part of that ability to influence and be innovative go hand in hand.
Yep. Yeah, they really do. And thank you, Alice. And you are a lot of my motivation and my inspiration for being able to do those things. And I'm glad we get to do them together and continue to sort of elevate nurses in media and our influence across the span, like again, like I said, from health policy on a federal level to cable television talk shows, to movies, to TV, to those really intimate dinner conversations, right? Where someone's over to the house, y'all are playing games, maybe having a glass of wine, and someone was like, I got this thing on my thing. What does that mean? Or, that's my favorite comment, by the way. I got a thing on my thing. This happens so often. All the nurses and medical professionals watching totally get this. Yes. By the way, those of you nurses and medical professionals and everyone watching, we're going to go live for about 10 more minutes. It's a slightly shorter show today on Monday. We are live right now on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. At least somebody out.
Yeah. Twitter,
LinkedIn.
Instagram.
LinkedIn. That's the other one. So if you got some questions or you got some things you want to ask us, drop them in the comments wherever you are. I've got Instagram up, I've got LinkedIn up, I've got Twitter up, I've got Restream up. So we're doing the whole thing. I'm producing and hosting at the same time. So the other thing too, I just wanted to talk about this. I've been doing something on TikTok every morning called Morning Rounds. And I just open up TikTok. I just shoot the you know what on my phone. And it's mostly about medical education. So helping people who will have medical questions, and I sort of educate them about what a medical or nursing approach to that would be. Obviously not medical advice or anything like that. But Alice, it has been wild. It has been so great. And someone really challenged me on something this morning. And I kind of wanted your thoughts and opinion about it, because it does tie into influence and it ties into leadership.
What they asked you? What they say?
So, well, someone asked me specifically, because some nurses were on and they were like, it was really awesome because I had like 400 people on, and some nurses were on and they were like, what your advice for new nurses starting out? How long do you think you need to work in med surg before you move to a different part of the hospital or whatever? Now, I know that this is very controversial, so the nurses watching will be a lot of controversy around this. I do not subscribe to the fact that you need to work a certain number of hours or a certain number of years on a medical surgical unit before you go off and do the thing that you might actually want to do. So if catching babies is your thing, you want to do maternal fetal health, you want to work with midwives, you want to catch babies or whatever, I do not subscribe to the fact that you have to have a certain number of medical surgical years under your belt before you go after that job. I think you can go after that job right away because they will teach you, they will train you. A lot of places like new nurses so they can educate you in the way that they want you to practice. But someone called me out and they were like, yeah, but Dr. James, you were forgetting that medical surgical is a specialty itself and we shouldn't knock it.
It is a specialty. There's a specialty certification. That is indeed true. So let me say this, med-surg nurses, they kind of get a bad rap sometimes, but I will tell you this, that's a rough area to work. We think ICU and ER is hard. Yes, it is. But in med-surg, and I'll just speak here in California, you have at least 5 patients, at least.
And many hospitals are still way out of ratio.
Yes. And they're still out of ratio. And these are patients who are sick, but not quite ICU sick. At least in ICU, they're intubated, sedated, they don't have a lot of energy. They're not really, most of them, right? Not touch around. You basically, you round and check on them. In med surg, you got very awake and alert people who have a lot of questions or needing of things. You have 5 of them. You still have medications to give, treatments, and all kinds of things. It's a very busy place. And because of the volume and the number of things that you have to do, it can be very challenging to give any one patient the particular care that they need, the surveillance. And so, sometimes, med-surg people will say, oh, med-surg nurses, and listen, I love med-surg nurses. I'm not saying that I don't think this way at all, but some people will believe that maybe their knowledge, the depth of their knowledge isn't as much as it is for like critical care or, those type of things. But these nurses are jamming. They are working hard. They're they got to know a lot of things. I mean, ask me to do a 3-way bladder irrigation. I don't know what to do, but you ask med-surg nurse, they know
on it. Right.
Ask them everything, and they know a lot of everything. But I'll say this: they are a specialty. They do have a specialty certification, so there's a knowledge and skill set that's done there that we just don't do in the other areas. And
agreed.
Some people go to med-surg initially, and that's fine. And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with working med-surg, right? That's a great place to work. But if you're someone who, like you mentioned, if you want to work pediatrics, go for pediatrics. If you want to go critical care, go critical care. But I will say this, please make sure that you enter a structured orientation program so you learn it the right way. And then also I think nurses, we've become dependent on our organizations to provide this orientation. You have to make sure that you're connected with your professional nursing organization or have another place to go to get information and get knowledge. Don't just put all of your eggs in one basket with your hospital educator or hospital CNS or whoever's in charge of onboarding you. There's so much to learn and know. You couldn't possibly get it from one place.
I love that. Well, and I might, Alice, I might ask you to expand on that a little bit, because I think a lot of nurses, particularly coming directly out of school, may not necessarily appreciate and understand the value of different nursing organizations. And listen, I'm proudly a member of several nursing organizations, but I'm not on the board of any. Like, I'm not trying to recruit for any particular one, like whatever. I'm just saying that I think that there's value in being a part of nursing organizations because of what you can learn, because of how you can network, because of the resources that they have. And someone on Instagram, Alice, mentioned, I was a new grad in the registry. Learn by fire. Whoa, to be a new grad registry nurse. I mean, that is bold. That's a lot.
I don't know where they do that at. So that's an outlier. So I'm glad that person made it through, but I wouldn't recommend anyone be a new grad in registry, because you're going to be going to multiple places and learning different things. You got to be ready to rock and roll with registry. It's kind of like being a travel nurse. So kudos to them. Hats off to them. I hope they were able to, find their some resources. You need some mentorship. All of us need mentorship. But to get back to your point, professional nursing organizations, they can be kind of looked at as kind of the student governments of specialty organizations. So for some people, they're like, I don't got time to do that. This is boring. We're talking about policy and all this other stuff that I'm not necessarily interested in. However, it's really important that we keep our professional nursing organizations vitalized with creative minds, thoughts, and energy, because these are the organizations that are helping to advocate for practice and policy and work environments and other things that are going to influence where you work, how much you get paid, what you can do. And I will say this, James, at first I wasn't interested in professional nursing organizations. And then I kind of got a little bit of a bug of wanting to do more, but unless you're kind of hand chosen at your organizations, because it still happens, as far as kind of leadership, some people are groomed into leadership, some aren't. So I wasn't someone who was necessarily groomed into it per se. Like, I wasn't the chosen one because I was too bossy and bossy and I pushed back too much. So I had to learn.
You were
leadership.
No.
Oh yeah, baby, please don't have me to staff me. I'm like, well, why do we have to do such and such when this is faster and this saves us? But anyways,
right.
When you join your professional nursing organization, you meet other like-minded special people within your specialty. One, it's a great way to make friends, a great way to network, and then you learn more about your specialty, education-wise, training-wise. And then like policy, you kind of see what's on the horizon. Some people are here for the today. Some people are looking into tomorrow. So if you're really looking for the tomorrow in your nursing profession and wanting to, grow as a leader, we're all leaders, but let's face it, you need some mentoring in that. You do. If you want to really level up, you got to get around some other nurse leaders in those official positions, or who've had experience doing certain projects or moving certain initiatives, so you can learn from them. So I always encourage people. And then the conferences are always fun. I'm at a conference right now. There you go. So
well, I think there's a lot of people. We got about 5-10 minutes left on our slightly shorter show on an Eclipse Monday. How about all those S's and C's in there? Right now, wherever you are, if you got a quick question for us, you have thoughts about a professional nursing organization, that's the kind of the hot topic of the day, because Alice is at a conference. I'm going to a conference later this week. We're talking about the value of sort of like influential leadership and conferences for nursing. Now, those of you who are new to the Dr. James and Nurse Alice show, lots of times we talk about what's going on really in the headlines.
Health, yeah.
And like health in the headlines. So a lot of that is coming up. But because Alice is at a conference right now, on behalf of nurse.com, and she's speaking and she's hosting. She's like Khloe Kardashian. She's up in these clubs trying to get her little hosting fee. And I'm speaking at a conference later this week. We thought we'd kind of talk about conferences and leaderships and the importance of those things, in particular for newer nurses or career-changing types of nurses. So if you got a comment, if you got a nursing organization you want to shout out, drop it in the comments. I got your Instagram here. I got Twitter over here. I got LinkedIn right here. I got Restream and YouTube right here. So drop it in the comments. We'll shout them out real quick. But Alice, one of the things I think that some people who've never been to these conferences don't really necessarily understand is the power of networking. And I know a lot of times in hospitals, or excuse me, in Hollywood, you know, we got a little toes in Hollywood. Almost nothing gets done unless it's who you know.
Baby, it's all about who you know. It's all about who you know.
Right.
Because there's lots of, let's put it this way. Lots of talented people. Let me just take Chris Brown, for example. I think he's a magnificent dancer, singer. He has this platform. Do you know how many people can outdance Chris Brown and how sing him as well? There's lots of them. Because what he'll do is sometimes he'll showcase people and share the work that they do, but they don't have the network or the connections or the in.
Right.
Sometimes it's about having that into that. So, you know, if you want to open some doors, you got to go find some keys. Go find the people with the keys and go open those doors.
Right.
Really.
But where you find those people, a lot of times, a lot of nurses, you know, you and I get asked a lot about like consulting and counseling and mentorship. Right. And a lot of times I tell new nurses, new nurse practitioners in particular, which is what I do a lot of, you find those people with the keys. You find those people who have that experience you want. You find those people who wrote that research that you read, that you had to do for your thesis or your dissertation or just whatever project. Those people are at these conferences and they're speaking and they're accessible and they want to sit down and talk to you and they want to see you're passionate about the career and they want to see the things that you're passionate about. And listen, I know it's arguable. If you ask Dr. Dan Weberg, there are not 5 million of us, but by some sources, there are 5 million of us in the United States. And getting access to the right people happens really at a lot of these conferences that are driven by nursing organizations.
Yes. And let me just say, I was just at a conference also has it even been a month, almost a month ago. I was a keynote speaker at the NACNS, the National Association of Clinical Nurse Specialists Conference. I met so many people. And one of the things, I went to the conference, and it's one thing to meet someone, but it's the follow-up. So before I even left the conference, I sent emails to everyone asking them, can I have a Zoom meeting with you so we can further the conversation? Because I wanted to make sure that I solidified the introduction with a true dedicated conversation. And we just, you know, I told more about myself, I learned more about them, and we identified ways in which we could work together and help one another, because that's really what it's about. That's the benefit of doing all this at these conferences. You can find mentors, friends, your next job, you know, the sky's the limit. And I'll say this along the lines of mentor, just want to put a little early shout out there. So at nurse.com, we're going to be having a mentorship program. So you will have the ability to get mentorship from people like myself, from Dr. James, and from Vernell Davis. Like, I have a whole list of friends from different specialties: perioperative, ER, ICU, nurse practitioner, nurse midwives, nurse anesthetists, like all over. So whether it's your professional nursing organization or later, once we launch our mentorship program at nurse.com, we got you. We got you.
Look at that. I love a little nurse.com shout out. Alice, I don't know if you saw Dr. Laurent is commenting on LinkedIn right now about having the keys and being a career coach, by the way. I threw that up in the comments below. So if y'all see that there, you can scroll through those comments. Thank you, Dr. Laurent, for your comments on there. We love, yes, we wish we could all be cool like Alice at AONL right now with nurse.com.
Who said that? Who said I'm cool? Thank you.
Dr. Laurent.
Oh.
Lauren. So you can see those comments down there. You know, we did have one question, Alice, as we kind of wrap. So sorry, again, slightly truncated show today. We're going a little bit shorter. We started a little bit late too. Sorry. You know that Eclipse technical Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde. See,
put your arms out like this. I need to see if something's drifting, because that
right.
A little slurred for me.
Are you having a stroke? Let's do it like a mini right now. So we did have one question over here on Instagram. Networking is huge, but also how do you deal with the drama llamas? So I'll put maybe a little context around that. I think we were just talking about how meeting folks with the keys, meeting other nurses and nurse practitioners and everyone, all of us who are really passionate about the things that you're passionate about through those organizations who have conferences, and how important conferences are in connecting with folks. But yeah, sometimes there can be drama. I don't know, Alice, how do you do
drama, like divas? Are we talking about people who think that is that what we're talking about? I don't know. I steer clear of drama. So
right.
I guess if I were to, let me say this. Because this has happened to me, I've gone to conferences, especially as a newer, maybe less experienced nurse. And sometimes it can feel intimidating when I go into these spaces because I'm seeing people with like all this alphabet soup behind their name. They've done all these presentations and they've written all these books, and it can feel a little awkward. And I can feel intimidated, and no shade, but sometimes people can have a little bit of an air of themselves. But listen, we're all at the conference. It's all even playing field right now. We're all at the same conference.
Yeah.
We all put our underwear on the same way, one leg then the other leg. So listen, I would say that, it's also an opportunity to speak up. Have, what's the word? Have some courage.
Sure.
And muster up the courage and really put yourself out there to meet new people and to go for it, just to go for it. Because if you don't advocate or be a champion for yourself, you might meet that, world-renowned speaker on cardiology that you've been dying to meet, and you love cardiology so much. Don't be afraid to walk up to them and introduce yourself. Yep. Be bold. Mm-hmm.
It is about being bold and I think strategic, right? I think so the person that asked the question clarified a little bit, Alice, conflicting opinions on how to proceed maybe with implementing programs or wanting to implement new tech. So that's a bigger conversation. Maybe
so they have just a difference of opinions, different style. I mean, there's more than one way to do something. Sure. So I love hearing how people, like, if I do something one way, when I catch wind of someone doing it different, I'm like, oh, well, how does that work? And I'm listening because I can stand to learn something new, or I also have the opportunity to insert something, say, I've tried it that way. Now I do it like this because it saves money, or it's more effective, or it's more satisfaction. And actually teach them. But you have to have these, more of a conversation with folks. You can't have that in like just 30 seconds.
And right, 30 seconds, because that might be the only amount of time that you have. And so I would say to this question asker, bring the data, have your receipts, pull your Whitney Houston, like show me the receipts, come with the data, not just your anecdote or not just a problem.
Yeah.
But here's a problem, here's my proposed solution, and here's why I think it might work. Like, this new technology has been used in these 3 other institutions that are similar to ours. Their, rates of ER bounce back dropped 33% in just 6 months. It cost them $100,000 to implement it, but the reimbursement that we lose from ER bounce backs is actually in the millions. So it's definitely worth it, right? There, I just made up an elevator speech in 15 minutes. So if you do a little bit of research, bring the evidence, right? We're always talking about evidence. Yeah. So bring the evidence. Have your elevator speech prepared for the thing that you're passionate about. Same thing with meeting with people. Alice is right. We all put on our underwear. Well, not everybody.
Some people don't wear underwear.
Or people got different bodies, right? Some people don't have legs. Like, I'm not gonna say everybody puts their underwear on one leg at a time.
That's true.
But and I mean that in all seriousness. But at the same time, that you might have a moment with that cardiologist that you've been really wanting to talk to, or that person who is really into, like, I don't know, maybe it's Nurse Alice and you really want to get into like media, right? You'd be like, all right, Alice, here's why. There's 17% of all nurses in the United States, first language is Tagalog. And there are no nurses out here in the media representing like Tagalog speaking nurses. Yep. What advice do you have? Blah, blah, blah. Like, come in with some facts a little bit and some data, because we're all at our heart, we're all scientists and we love data. So you bring a little bit of that, and I promise you that of the 100 people that person met at that conference, they're going to remember you.
Yes. And if I could just add a quick little story. Yeah. So have the receipts, like Dr. James said. I remember there was a I guess like a town hall presentation, and there were some media executives on the stage. And there was one of them I honed in on, and his name's Todd. He's there, and he's, they're all talking and everything. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk to the speaker after I'm done. So I get down, there's a line for the speakers, and you're like, hi, I'm so-and-so, I do such and such. Everybody has their story. He's like, yeah, I'm like, hi, I'm Nurse Alice, I want to be a reoccurring TV medical correspondent on television, this and that. I've done this and that. He's like, well, keep up. You're on the right track. Kind of gave me this side of, like, general answer. I'm like, yes, Todd, but what I'm saying is I really want to do this and this. He says, yeah, you're doing great. I said, well, let me put it to you this way. I want an opportunity to come on your network. I promise I'll do a good job. If I do horrible, you won't hear from me again, but I just need an opportunity. Can I have that chance? Wow. I legit said, my heart was like my belly, butterflies, everything. Like, I was like, oh my God, he's gonna think I'm crazy. Or I'm like, but Alice, this is the only time you're ever gonna be in a room with this person. Go for it. And so you got to go for it sometimes.
And wait, what happened? Don't leave us hanging.
Oh, I was on the show next week, the following week. And I'm at NBC now. I'm at NBC now.
And you're like, and
so let me just say this. So he said, he gave me his card. He says, call me. He says, I'm going to have you come up to the studio. I called him. I followed through, and I legit had a tour. I toured the NBC newsroom, got a tour of the lot. He introduced me to everyone. He says, if you have stories, you're gonna be working with Carlos here. And so I met with Carlos. Wow. I'm feverishly taking notes, and I was staying. I did everything I said I was gonna do, but I had to step out of my bubble. And let me tell you, I felt awkward. Yeah. But I did it.
And what I love about you just doing that is the other thing that can even take that to sort of the next level, the thing that can elevate that up a little bit in our last just couple of minutes, because we gotta go here in a minute, y'all. Thank you, by the way. Alice, at one point we had 80 people on this room, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We got a lot of folks. And we really appreciate y'all being here every Monday, 5 p.m. Alice and I go live for a little bit, half hour, 40 minutes or so. Alice is at AONL right now. I'm headed to a conference later this week. We really appreciate y'all checking in. But one of the things that you were saying, Alice, that I think is really fantastic that can level up that go for it is what Dr. Laurent says here on in the comments, and that's have a solution to their problem. Boop. Even if you don't think it's the perfect solution to their problem, have a solution to their problem. So like what Dr. Laurent said, and see what you can do to help them. Hey, Todd, my name is Nurse Alice. I happen to work very closely with the American Heart Association. It's American Heart Month. Heart disease is the #1 killer of everybody in the world, including your audience, which is primarily Black and Brown. And this is something I feel really passionately about. I would love an opportunity to come on your show, be a health correspondent, be a health contributor, whatever. And specifically, we need to talk about heart disease because it is the #1 killer of everyone. You've already produced half the segment for him, right? You've given him facts, you've given him your credentials by your association, and you've still gone for it. So now he's like, great, I just filled 7 minutes of my segment on Friday about, heart disease or whatever with anchor so-and-so. Exactly. And all of a sudden you solved a problem for him because he's trying to find content for his show that is appealing to his audience, and he's got the right person to do it. Everybody's winning.
All I do is win. What? I don't know the words. Yes.
We ain't never giving up. Okay, listen, Alice, you are amazing. I'm gonna let you go because listen, Alice needs to go get her Ice Spice Khloe Kardashian. She has to go host this event at AONL, Association of Nurse Leaders. If any of y'all are watching that are at AONL right now, please go meet Alice, America's favorite nurse, Alice Benjamin, at the AONL dinner sponsored by nurse.com. Where's the event at, Alice?
I knew you were gonna say that.
That's right.
If you go to nurse.com or reliance.com, it's on the LinkedIn. The information is there. It's actually the cocktail dinner is tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time at a cutesy restaurant, and I don't know the name right now. I wasn't
cutesy restaurant. Well, reach out. So if you're watching this on Alice's platform, by the way, don't forget, of course, I hope you're following Alice. Please follow Alice. Set your reminders. We go live every Monday at 5-ish. Strong on the ish, because technology is not our forte. 5 p.m.-ish, half hour, 40 minutes or so. We generally are talking health headlines and answering your questions. Today, we're talking a lot about nursing leadership. And if you're watching on Alice's platforms.
Yes. Make sure to follow Dr. James at Ask the NP. You guys, he's awesome, amazing, tons of wonderful information. And make sure to check him out on TikTok for morning rounds as well.
Stop. Yeah, bring your medical questions. We have morning rounds every morning. morning. I don't know. It's usually around 7 Pacific, but morning time. You know, we're a little flexible with that. But follow on TikTok, set your reminders. And if you are watching on my platforms, please go follow Nurse Alice at Ask Nurse Alice. Should be easy because you're already following Ask the NP. And let us know what you want to talk about. So some folks have sent us some DMs and some emails about the things that they want to talk about. We're doing a little special with Alice live from AONL this week, but we're definitely going to get to some of those things that you want to talk about. So hit us up. And we appreciate the comments, and we had so much fun hanging out with y'all. And we will see you next Monday.
See you next Monday. Make good choices.
Right. What do you always say, Alice? Make good choices and what? No.
I always say be kind to one another and make good choices.
And
live life well. Those are my 3 things.
Right. I was going to say something, but that's usually for, I'm not going to say
it. What you going to say?
I'm going to get us in trouble. Y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate y'all.